You ever sit there, just stare at your life and think, what the fuck am I doing? You're not starving, but you're not winning either. You've got Wi-Fi, a bed, food in the fridge, and deep down, you know you're wasting potential. You've become too damn comfortable. Comfort is the quiet killer. It doesn't stab you. It slowly rocks you to sleep while your dreams rot in your chest. Everybody says they want to be rich. They post quotes, watch hustle videos, talk about manifesting success. But when it's time to bleed for it, to actually grind, they vanish. Because the truth is, getting rich is not a vacation. It's a fucking war. You're at war with yourself every single day, against laziness, against distraction, against doubt, against everyone who says you can't do it. You want millions? Cool. Then prepare to suffer. Because every millionaire I know, every real one, earned those zeros by walking through hell. It's not pretty. It's not peaceful. It's ugly, painful, and lonely. Success isn't calm, it's chaos controlled by discipline. The first battle is with comfort. Comfort is seductive. It tells you, take a break, you've done enough. And that voice is poison. The moment you listen to it, you lose. You can't build an empire from a couch. You can't conquer the world in a blanket. Comfort is for people who've already won. And if you're watching this, you haven't won yet. Here's a stat that'll piss you off. Nearly 80% of people who set big goals quit within 6 months. 6 months? They fold because they thought motivation would carry them. But motivation dies fast. Discipline is what keeps you alive after the excitement fades. That's the difference between dreamers and doers. You ever notice how the most average people love to celebrate mediocrity? They'll say things like, I deserve a break after doing the bare minimum. You don't deserve shit until you've earned it. The world doesn't care how tired you are, it only cares if you can deliver. And then comes the second battle, doubt. That one's a mental bloodbath. You'll wake up some mornings ready to conquer the planet, and by noon you'll be questioning your entire life. That's normal. Even the strongest people feel that. The difference? They don't let doubt make decisions for them. Studies show that more than 90% of entrepreneurs deal with crippling self-doubt early on. The winners just learn to ignore it. They treat doubt like background noise. It's there, but it doesn't control the steering wheel. I know a guy broke for years. Humiliated, laughed at, started business after business, all failures. Everyone told him to get a real job. He said, if I quit, I'm choosing poverty. And that's not happening. On the 6th try, he hit it big. Now those same people call him lucky. Funny how that works. That's the secret nobody tells you. Pain doesn't mean stop. Pain means progress. Every hour that hurts is building a version of you that doesn't flinch. Millionaires aren't superhumans. They're just people who didn't quit when it hurt the most. And here's a funny truth. The average millionaire works over 60 hours a week, while the average person complains after 40. Then they wonder why nothing changes. You can't expect a millionaire life with employee effort. So when people say, you've changed, good. You're supposed to. You fought battles they were too scared to even enter. You faced comfort, doubt, fear, and kept moving. That's what makes you dangerous. If you want to be a millionaire, understand this. You're signing up for war, a real one. No medals, no breaks, no excuses. You either win or you stay broke. That's the rule. You beat comfort, you fought doubt, you're still standing. Good. But now comes the next one, the one that breaks most people in half, loneliness. See, the road to success looks exciting from the outside. People imagine noise, parties, champagne, friends celebrating. But when you're actually walking that road, it's silent, it's cold. It's just you and your thoughts for months, maybe years. Nobody talks about that part. When you start taking life seriously, the crowd disappears. You'll outgrow people. You'll stop fitting into the same circles. You'll start realizing that the conversations around you don't feed you anymore. Everyone's talking about gossip, Netflix, nights out, and you're thinking about systems, profits, strategy, legacy. That gap grows fast. And when it does, they'll say you've changed. They'll say you're acting different. No, you're just not wasting time anymore. The second you break routine and start doing something big, people around you feel threatened. Your growth exposes their comfort. There's research showing that almost 70% of self-made millionaires went through periods of extreme isolation while building their wealth. Think about that. Not because they were antisocial, because no one around them understood their mission. You can't explain vision to someone who's never closed their eyes and seen more. And that's where the mental war starts. Because loneliness isn't just silence, it's temptation. You'll start missing the comfort of old habits, the laughs, the nights out, the mindless distractions. You'll crave company, even from people who slow you down. That's when the weak go back. They can't handle being alone with themselves. But the strong, they use it. They realize isolation isn't punishment, it's training. When the world goes quiet, you finally hear your own thoughts clearly. That's when you plan, build, strategize, you sharpen your mind until it's dangerous. And here's the funny part. The same people who ghosted you when you were building will magically reappear once you've made it. They'll say, bro, remember me? Of course you do. You remember who disappeared when you needed them most. Millionaires never forget that part. You'll notice something else too. When you start winning, your circle gets smaller but stronger. The real ones don't drain your energy. They multiply it. They talk about progress, investments, growth, not nonsense. If your friends don't push you higher, they're pulling you lower. Simple as that. There's this myth that success is a team journey. No, it starts alone. You have to build yourself before you can lead anyone else. You can't lift people if you haven't built muscle first. Too many people try to drag their old crowd up the mountain and then wonder why they fall back down. You can't save everyone, especially those who don't want to be saved. And I'll be honest, the loneliness gets heavy. Some nights you'll question everything. You'll wonder if it's even worth it. You'll miss having people around. But when you look back a year later and see how far you've come, that's when it clicks. The loneliness was the price of transformation. You think lions run in packs with sheep? No, they walk alone until they find other lions. That's how it works. And when they meet, they don't talk small, they roar about the hunt. So yeah, this path will cost you friends, comfort, and peace of mind sometimes. But what you gain in return? Freedom, self-respect, a life that doesn't depend on anyone else. That trade is worth everything. You want to be a millionaire? Then accept this. Now, isolation is part of the process. You'll walk alone, eat alone, plan alone, cry alone. But one day you'll own alone. And that's when you realize all that silence wasn't empty. It was building the loudest version of you. You've beaten comfort. You've survived doubt. You've handled the loneliness. Now you're finally winning. The money starts coming in. People start noticing the same ones who ignored you before are suddenly calling you bro. You're getting attention, respect, validation. And right here, right at the top of that mountain, that's where the next war begins. The battle with ego. Ego is sneaky. It shows up disguised as confidence. It whispers, you made it. You're different now. You don't need to grind like before. And that's how most millionaires fall. They think they've arrived. They stop learning, stop hustling, stop improving. Ego convinces them that the game is over, but it never is. The moment you think you've won, you've already started losing. You see, making money isn't the hard part. Keeping it, that's the real challenge. Because success changes the people around you, but it also tries to change you. You start believing your own hype. You start caring about status more than systems. You start flexing instead of building. That's how your empire starts rotting from the inside out. There was a study I came across that said, however, 65% of people who come into sudden wealth lose a huge portion of it within the first 5 years. Why? Ego. They forget the discipline that built the money. They get comfortable, start chasing validation, start buying things to impress people who don't even like them. That's what ego does. It turns killers into clowns. You have to understand something. When you win, your environment changes. You'll get praise, fake respect, people telling you you're special. You have to be smart enough to see through it. Most people will tell you what you want to hear, not what you need to hear. Real strength is being surrounded by applause and still saying, I'm not done yet. Ego kills growth. The second you think you know everything, life humbles you fast. The market doesn't care about your past success. The world doesn't owe you consistency. The minute you stop adapting, you become irrelevant. Look around. How many once great people faded away because they got comfortable with being celebrated? That's ego. The truth is, you have to treat success like a temporary guest. Respect it, enjoy it, but never let it live rent-free in your head. You have to wake up every day like you're still broke, still hungry, still chasing. Because the second you stop chasing, the fire dies. And here's where it gets funny. Your ego will tell you you've earned rest. You deserve to relax. Sounds nice, right? But that's how you fall back into mediocrity. The same comfort you escaped years ago comes crawling back wearing designer clothes. It's the same trap, just more expensive. I remember hearing a successful entrepreneur say, if you stay humble, life gives you blessings. If you act arrogant, life gives you lessons. And that hit me because it's true. The moment you start thinking you're untouchable, life will find a way to remind you you're not. The real millionaires, the ones who stay rich, they all have one thing in common. They move like soldiers even when they're kings. They stay sharp. They stay paranoid. They still study, still push, still evolve. Because they know the second they let ego drive, they crack. You want to win forever? Never let success convince you you're safe. Stay dangerous. Stay sharp. Stay uncomfortable. Be proud, but never satisfied. Confidence wins battles. Ego loses wars. So yeah, make your money. Celebrate your victories. But remember this, the moment you start flexing more than you're working, your countdown begins. Because success doesn't destroy you. Your ego does. You've handled comfort, doubt, loneliness, ego, and now you're standing in a new kind of storm, fear. Not the kind that makes you jump, the kind that makes you hesitate, the kind that creeps in right before the next big decision. When you start playing at a higher level, the stakes get heavier. You're not risking pocket money anymore. You're risking everything, your time, your name, your peace. That's when fear hits hardest. You start thinking, what if I lose it all? And that thought can paralyze people faster than failure ever could. Every millionaire faces this. You'll reach a point where every move feels dangerous. The pressure is real. People are watching. One wrong decision, and it all collapses. But here's the truth. Fear never goes away. It just gets stronger than it. There's a survey I once read. Over 80% of high-performing entrepreneurs admitted they still experience serious fear before making big moves. Not at the start. Still, That's what people don't get. Confidence isn't the absence of fear, it's control over it. You want to know why most people stay broke? It's not because they can't win. It's because they're too scared to lose. They're too afraid to look stupid, too afraid to start small, too afraid to fail publicly. But the thing is, failure is part of the payment for success. If you're scared of looking dumb, stay broke. Simple. When I see people say, I'm waiting for the right time, I laugh. There's no right time, there's only now. The world doesn't reward hesitation, it rewards audacity. Fear is a liar. It tells you stories about what might go wrong while hiding everything that could go right. And here's the real secret. Millionaires don't destroy fear, they weaponize it. Fear sharpens them. It forces them to prepare harder, think deeper, move smarter. It's fuel, you just have to use it. But if you let fear control you, it'll slowly steal everything, your ambition, your courage, your drive. It'll turn you into a spectator in your own life. And one day you'll look back and realize you never really lost, you just never tried. I tell people this all the time. The scariest decision you'll ever make is the one that changes your life. That's why it feels scary. The fear isn't a sign to stop, it's a sign you're on the right path. So when fear hits, smile at it, move anyway, take the risk, jump. Because every successful person you admire once stood exactly where you are, afraid, uncertain, and surrounded by risk, and they moved anyway. That's why they're rich. There's a moment in our grind where you stop feeling like a beast and start feeling like a machine that's breaking down. That's the fifth battle, discipline versus burnout. Because it's easy to say never give up when things are going your way. It's easy to talk about hustle when the money starts coming in. But what happens when you've been grinding for years, no sleep, no break, and it feels like you're stuck in the same place? That's where 90% of people collapse. The world worships motivation, the loud music, the hype videos, that you can do it nonsense. But that's not what makes millionaires. Discipline does. Discipline is what keeps you moving when your brain says stop. It's a quiet, boring, painful repetition that turns chaos into progress. Well, let me tell you the real trap. When you're chasing success, you can become addicted to the grind itself. You start feeling guilty for resting. You hate downtime. You begin thinking rest equals weakness. That's how burnout sneaks in, disguised as productivity. There was a study once that showed more than 70% of entrepreneurs hit a phase of serious burnout before reaching financial freedom. 7 out of 10. It's not because they were lazy. It's because they didn't know when to stop pushing and start managing their energy. See, most people don't understand discipline isn't just about working hard. It's about knowing when to recharge. Because if you run on empty long enough, you'll stop loving the thing that once set your soul on fire. That's what burnout does. It kills passion quietly. Every millionaire hits this wall. You wake up one day and feel nothing. No excitement, no drive. You stare at the numbers, the results, and they don't mean anything. That's when people either quit or level up. Here's the truth. You can't avoid burnout, but you can learn to control it. You manage it by building systems, not moods. You schedule your day like a weapon. You rest when you've earned it, not when you feel like it. And when you're tired, you don't quit. You adapt. You switch focus. You protect your energy like your money. Because here's the thing. You don't become rich by working hard once. You become rich by working hard forever without losing your edge. That's discipline. That's consistency. That's the reason the world remembers your name. So yeah, you'll burn out. Everyone, but the real ones get back up. They don't let exhaustion turn into excuses. They remember why they started, fix their routine, sharpen their edge, and go again. That's what separates a millionaire from a man who almost made it. Here's the part nobody warns you about, the fight after you win. Yeah, you heard me right. Because success isn't the finish line. It's the start of another war, the battle to stay hungry. See, when you've got nothing, you're dangerous. You'll work, bleed, sacrifice. You'll do anything. But when you've got something, when you've got cars, money, status, comfort, that's when the real danger begins. Because comfort kills more dreams than failure ever could. Every millionaire faces this. You spend years fighting to build the empire. Then suddenly you wake up one morning and you've got what you once prayed for. The hunger fades. The fire cools down. You start choosing comfort over challenge. That's how kings lose their crowns, slowly, quietly, one lazy decision at a time. You think you're safe because you've made it. But the second you think you've made it, you're already slipping. You stop doing the things that got you here. You stop thinking like a wolf. And when you stop being hungry, someone hungrier replaces you. Always. There's an old survey I once saw. Around 60% of self-made millionaires admit they struggled to find purpose after achieving financial success. Because money solves problems, but it doesn't fill the void. Once you buy everything you ever wanted, you're forced to face yourself. And that's a terrifying thing for most people. So what do the real ones do? They reinvent themselves. They create new wars to fight. They build, they teach, they compete again. Because they know purpose keeps you sharp. Growth keeps you alive. The second you stop evolving, you start decaying. That's why you'll never see the best of the best sitting still. They don't chase money anymore. They chase challenge, the next goal, the next level, the next version of themselves. That's what keeps them dangerous. That's what keeps them alive. And that's the final battle, the war between hunger and comfort. Most people lose it. They win a little, then stop swinging. But the real ones, they fight forever. They understand that success isn't about reaching the top. It's about staying there while the world tries to drag you down. So yeah, the journey to becoming a millionaire will break you, rebuild you, and test you 1,000 times. You'll fight comfort, doubt, loneliness, fear, burnout, and even your own success. But if you survive all that, you won't just be rich. You'll be free. Because the truth is, the money isn't the reward, the man you become while chasing it. And when you reach that point, when you look in the mirror and see the kind of person you built through the chaos, you'll realize something most people never will. You didn't win because of what you got. You won because nothing, not pain, not fear, not success, could break your hunger.